Hey, and welcome to Dr. G Speaks. I am Dr. Kristen Guillory, and I am so very excited to help you experience a life of freedom, faith, and fun you may not even realize is possible. Listen, I know you feel held back, I know you feel stuck, and I know you are hiding. As a coach and the author of Look, Stop Hiding, How to Find Your Voice and Never Dim Your Light Again, you will get to listen to some amazing stories, receive some homework, that's the professor in me, and get some tools to help you live the life you deserve. It's time to quiet the noise and walk in the fullness of who God created you to be. It's time to stop hiding and start thriving. Together, we'll uncover your potential and ignite your journey to a fulfilling life, a life of freedom. Well, hey, what is your view of being single? And the reason this is such an important question to ponder is if there is a larger percentage, and what I mean by larger, if there is probably a percentage higher than 25% of you that cannot stand being single, you think something is wrong being single, you think single is something negative, and I'm not saying that that is not your right to feel that. What I'm saying is when you have that feeling or opinion about being single, you want to be careful about trying to get attached to someone because the energy is not going to be pure. You might lean into lack mentality. You might lean into scarcity mentality. You might unintentionally make the other person an idol. I have seen reactions at times that women have to a man asking them out on a date or going out or a proposal, other things. And I can often tell when the woman has made the man or made dating or made a proposal into an idol. So be very careful of moving into wanting to date where you just think being single is horrible or you hate men or you're mad at life. Just be careful of that energy. I've heard people say, I was bored, so I got on a dating app. And in truth, I do think that is not the best thing to do because if you're bored, go play a game, go call a friend. But we don't want to play with people's hearts. And in turn, we don't want our hearts to unintentionally be played with. Now, if you believe, I believe single is a blessing and I can't wait not to be single, that's okay too. But in true, like real talk, what is your true feeling about what it means to be single? Be honest with yourself. I think single is a blessing. I think single is a gift. And because if you allow it to be, ladies, single is a gift. And some of you may be saying, well, I've had this gift too long. No, thank you. Find the gift in being single and God, I know it's a gift and I believe I'm ready. There is a friend of mine who got married maybe 7 years ago, and there was a post on social media, and the question was, married women, what advice do you have for single women who desire to be married or before they get married? All of the advice had things to do with make sure you don't go to bed angry, make sure you communicate well, make sure you learn him. It was all about the guy. My friend was the only person that said, make sure you live your life when you are single to the fullest. Make sure you live it well because she would come back and say she regrets spending years off and on feeling depressed because she wasn't married. She looks back and regrets how much time she dedicated to where is he and why am I not married yet and what's going on. That is her advice today. Ladies, live your life. Live your life and trust that God will do it if he said that he was going to do it. She thought she was going to be married with kids by 27. And when she hit 28, 29, she began to experience depression. We've been connected for a while. She got married at 36 and she essentially says, if I could tell my younger self something, I would say, girl, go live. Like live your life. She is someone who's an author and she's somewhat of a public figure and she was a virgin before she got married. And the guy she married, they dated for about a year and a half. And there were times that she did date a few men who that wasn't the journey for them. But what I say is if the man loves you and respects you and cares enough, he will absolutely, it's not even about, ooh, I'm abstaining, ooh, I'm not doing anything. It is, I am choosing to love you. in the way that you deserve to be loved, in the way that you want to be loved. And she said there was no issue when she met her now husband, who had sex before, and there was no issue because he said, I knew she was it, and I don't care if it would have been 5 years if we didn't do anything. I knew what a gift she was. So, because she's somewhat of a public figure, she, in the beginning of her engagement and marriage, she would get DMs all the time from women saying, "Oh my gosh, what did you do? What did you pray? What did you do?" Da, da, da. And her response to the women would be, well, before I give you a prayer, have you talked to the Lord about, does he want marriage for you? Does he want marriage for you right now? Have you asked God, God, did you give me this desire? Is this what you want me to do? And she said, many women said, oh, no, thank you. I'll move on. Like, no, thank you. I'll go get another prayer. It's okay to have our desires. But let me ask y'all something. Have you ever had a desire for something or someone, and God did not give you that desire and you are grateful you didn't get it? Take a moment and think about that. Is there a job you once wanted? Is there a relationship you once wanted? Is there a trip or anything you once wanted and this is the thing you really wanted and God said no? You look back and you're like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that God said no. A guy years ago liked me for a long time and then said God did not clear me to date. He genuinely desired me. He genuinely did. And he took time. I'm so grateful. He took time to pray and he said, God has not cleared me to date. Because although he liked me and wanted to be with me all these years and he desired to be with me, God said, that is not who I have for you. That is not where you need to be. And I'm so grateful that he prayed. And so a prayer that I want to invite you all to double tap on that is, has God cleared you to date? Has he? When you meet someone who's pursuing you, consider in conversation, hey, has God cleared you to date? And a lot of times people are going to say, what do you mean? I haven't thought about that. Okay. Going back to how do you view being single? Allow single to be a blessing. Please tell single women to live their life. Live and, when it's time, trust God in that. Trust God in that. Use wisdom, use discernment, seek wise counsel. So, how do you view being single? The next is if you desire to date, eventually marry, what do you believe and know you deserve? Are you clear on what it is you deserve? Because when you're not clear on what you deserve, you accept any and everything. When you are not clear that you are regal and you are queen, if you believe that, when you're not clear on that, you will accept anything. So, what do you believe you deserve? And I don't necessarily mean money things, or it could be money, but what do you believe that you deserve and know? Respect, integrity, creativity, spontaneity, kindness, humility, a servant's heart who will pray over me. We will have fun. It will be light. It will be easy. He will cover me in prayer. Like, what is it that you know? What is it? Someone where I can support him, sharpen him. Are you clear? I am. And what's interesting about lists, and when I was in college, we were encouraged to write a list. Here are the things that you want in someone. And I wrote the list, and I don't think I had anything that was physical. Like none of my must-haves had anything to do with like aesthetics or money. It was all character. And that's interesting. That was my list at 18 or 19. And I don't know where that list went. And what's interesting is I thought back to some of the things on there. And if I think about some of the men in my life, they fit those qualities. When you are clear about here's what I deserve and God, let me get it back to you so you can give it back to me. And it's even better than I could even imagine because I am still limited in my viewpoint. I am still limited in my vantage. And also be mindful of when you create these lists. Be mindful of the mindset you were in. I have worked with a lot of women and I'll say, tell me it is what you want. And they'll tell me what it is they don't want. And they made that list based on a previous relationship, which is fine. But y'all, we want to lean into what it is and not what we don't. So be careful of that. I've talked, well, tell me what you, I don't want a man who does this and I don't want, and here's what it is. The energy is connected to that person as opposed to the new person that you desire. So be very careful of the energy through which you create these lists. And I don't just mean about a partner. Are you clear on other things? Y'all, I have written lists about where I want to live. I started writing affirmations in June of 2020 that said, I, Kristen, am living by the ocean. Y'all, I had no idea what ocean. I just knew we were in the middle of COVID and Prior to that, I was doing a lot of international solo travel, and most of that travel was to the beach. And I just started writing this affirmation. I, Kristen, am living by the ocean. I, Kristen, am open to goodness and lightness and ease. I, Kristen, like a magnet, attract only good things, people, and opportunities. I, Kristen, have a desire for money that is rooted in love. I, Kristen, am an amazing friend, coach, and aunt. Like literally, these are affirmations that I would write. I get to September and I am talking to a friend of mine who lives in Miami. And I just happened to ask her, "Oh, hey, why did you move to Miami?" Because I'm like, boom, she's deep like me. She's going to have a deep answer. Let's get it. And she said, "Oh, well, I grew up here." And I thought, well, that didn't help. She said, "But it's always warm and you can get everywhere from here. Like you can fly everywhere." Immediately, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm moving to Miami. I started researching high rises in Miami. And then it hit me, I don't like Miami. I did some research on Airbnb. And there were these 2 houses that I was gonna rent, and the only reason that I didn't choose one house is it did not have free parking. This other place in a city I'd never heard of had free parking and everything that I wanted. I'm like, "Fine, I'm gonna book it." I'd never heard of this city. I'm mispronouncing the city, I'm calling it Pomano, and it's called Pompano Beach. I get there, I get to the house, the next day I go to the beach. The next day I said, "This is where I'm moving." I knew it by day 2. I have a cousin who lives in the area, and he was like, "Oh, are you sure you wanna live in Pompano? Are you sure? Are you sure you don't wanna do Hollywood? Are you sure?" I said, "No, I wanna live here." I knew. But I share this story with y'all to see how that started. I just started with an intention, and it was a clear intention. It wasn't, "I wanna leave Dallas because I'm mad at anybody. I wanna leave." And you have the right to part ways when there is anger, frustration, and harm. You absolutely have that too. Have that right as well. But my movement was, I want to get to the beach. That's really what it was. And I, Kristen, am going to be living by the beach. I just started writing it. I just started writing it every day, and believing it and praying about it. And God, if this is your will for me, please make it clear. And y'all, how easily I discovered this city I'd never heard of. And I've had clients since say, you moved to Pompano, not just for you. You moved for us. Some of you listening to this right now have attended events that I hosted in Pompano Beach on the beach. I have probably brought in 400 people to Pompano. I have hosted friends and clients and family members at my condo and different things. And so it turned out to be so much more. That's the Ephesians 3:20. So much more that I could ask or imagine. I thought I was just moving to be by the beach. I didn't know that it was going to be a signature location for my events. I didn't know that it was going to be a place of healing for clients and friends and family members to come visit. I didn't know that so many people would say, "Doc, because of you, I have visited the beach 5 times in the last 3 years." I didn't know. And then from that, what I have to always remember is if God allows me to have the dream and he confirms it or he gives me the dream, he's going to give me everything that I need to fulfill the dream. So that condo that I mentioned that God allowed me to find and have it paid off by a client, easy. That condo that wasn't even listed, but it was perfect. There was no way in my being, in my ability, I would have been able to find that, but it's trusting him. So y'all, there's nothing you can do to force a man to come in your life. There's nothing you can do to manufacture a mold. Can you be open? Yes. Can you be healed enough? Yes. Can you be clear on what it is you deserve? Absolutely. And allow your body to become a magnet in that space? Yes, you can. Be clear. Be clear and pray about that. We're intentional with so many other things. I bet you want to be intentional with somebody who might potentially be all up in your space. Be intentional with someone who might be physically affectionate with you. You might be sharing emotional things with, right? Let's be intentional. At times, we are more intentional with haircuts and hairdos and vacations than we are with the people we are connected to. Be very careful. Be very careful of who you connect to. Be very careful. And I'm going on some tangents, but not, I'm flowing. Be very careful even on physical affection, ladies. Now, when I tell y'all stories of things that I do, this is not me saying do what it is I do. I'm not saying that. I'm giving you stories about me because of just sharing possibility to share a different perspective and because a lot of people ask me to share and you all said that it's helpful to hear. For me, I'm very mindful of physical affection. And before I get to that, I'm going to finish the questions. What type of partner do you desire to be? Are you clear on who you desire to be? Do you want to be affirming? Do you want to be encouraging? Do you want to be kind? Do you want to be loving? Do you want to be a friend? How are your current friendships, particularly with other women? I'm not just talking about friendships with men. I mean, are you intentional? I am intentional in all of my friendships. I've gotten a couple new friends over the last 5 years, two guys and then a woman, and then another friend of mine. We've known each other for years, but our friendship, he's a guy, our friendship has just increased. And actually, all three of them said to me, "You are my first intentional friendship." And the woman, I'm like, "Girl, what do you mean? What you talking about? You married?" And she said, "Yeah, I've never had a friendship where it was this intentional. Although it's work, it is necessary and it is beautiful." And so, y'all, what does intentional friendship mean to you? Are you intentional in the lives of the friends you currently have? Are you an intentional friend? What is an intentional friend? Intentional friendship is I don't just do a check box. And y'all, here's the truth. When you are an intentional friend, that takes up space in your life. It does. I spend time on a weekly basis reaching out to different friends here and there, just saying, "Hey, how can I pray for you?" Hey, from time to time, I'll send friends gifts. I'll send things that were on my mind. "Hey, here's a song. Hey, are you free?" So I schedule my phone calls with my friends. So I'll say, "Hey, are you free next Tuesday so we can talk?" On all those ends. But I am intentional with my friends and how I show up. And one of my love languages is questions. I love questions. Questions show that you have a genuine curiosity about me. And my friends, I shared that with them. Here are my love languages. My friends learned that. And one of my friends, a girlfriend of mine, sent me a text with 10 questions. I was like, "Oh, you better speak my love language." That was everything. After a trip back from Morocco, my friend had like a list of questions for me. I love questions and it's being intentional on that end. And so, are you intentional in your friendships? Do you show up? Do you hold space for them? Do you pray for them? Okay. What type of intentional friendship would you like to have? So, I'm going to go to the physical affection piece to give y'all this. Okay. I know when we were talking about intentional friendship, the idea that, oh, would some men be okay without physical affection? The first thing is, are you okay with it? This is not me saying wait until you're married, anything like that, but I'm not saying that either. Ladies, I really strongly want to encourage you when you are meeting men and meeting new men, please put physical affection to the side. I'm not going to say a minimum of 90 days. I'm not going to do anything like that. Put it to the side so you can genuinely and purely get to know the person because y'all, sex may not be involved, but people can get attached to a handhold, attached to the arm around you a little too long, attached to a kiss. And so, y'all, get to know the person at a pure level. Y'all, these stories are put on my heart to give you all, and men have said to me about, "Oh my gosh, Dr. G, that is what we want. That is really what is appealing." I spoke to some men and I told them, I said, "Y'all, I think there's this kind of miscommunication, misunderstanding that men think that women only want money and some women do, and women think men are only going to be like this." And it was almost encouraging for them to hear that it was that out there. And I'm like, "No, move forward. Like, go and pursue that woman you're interested in. Go and say hello. Your money doesn't have to be 500,000." But here's the other part of it. If you know that you are building, if you know you're building a business, if you know you are healing, go do that. That's encouragement I've given men who ask me, "Dr. G, I'm interested in dating. I'm trying to figure out, do I date and also work on myself, or do I work on myself for a little bit and then start trying to date in maybe 3 or 4 months?" My encouragement is always go work on you. There's a quote somebody said, I think it was Karamo, the talk show host, and said, "It's difficult to build two houses at once. It is difficult to build myself up as well as build a relationship at the same time. Can it happen? Sure, but it is difficult." One of the reasons that there are so many issues in relationships is somebody prior to getting together, getting in this relationship, pursuing the person was not healed enough. And that is the truth. And they may not know that, right? Sometimes we don't know. So my encouragement to this gentleman was whatever you believe you need to work on, go work on that. Go do that. I'm not saying get perfect. I'm not saying be 100% healed, but you need to be healed enough because you're over here trying to date while you are healing from something and it doesn't sound like you're ready yet and you want to be ready. So you're present It doesn't mean that once you get healed, the person's going to pop up. I don't mean that. Remember, I said I don't believe in the formulas and genie and all that kind of stuff. So, a couple stories before I head and go to my conga lessons, y'all. I am taking drumming lessons. Okay. And I took acting lessons. Did I tell y'all that? I didn't tell you that. So, when people look at me, they say, "You really are living your life." Absolutely. Yes, y'all. I'm living my life. Yes. Am I friends with an amazing person? Absolutely. Am I friends with many amazing people? Absolutely. And I'm living my life. I'm living my life. Okay. So let me give you all this. There is a friend of mine. She's 53. She's been dating someone for 4 years. And the only thing they've done physically is they've held hands and they've pecked on the lips. And she said, we've not even slept in the same bed. Or maybe they did, but she said, "We made that agreement in the beginning that we were not going to. Not only were we not gonna have sex, we were not going to do deep kissing." And that's their rule, and he has honored it, and he's just fine with it. There is somebody else, the gentleman I mentioned that I dated 12 years ago, and sharing about my story, and I don't do a lot physically, and, I'm very mindful of handholds, and we were having a conversation one day. We were at lunch, and I said to him, "Hey, if this keeps going in a certain direction. It may move to marriage, it may not, but if it does, that may be in 2 years, which means you won't have sex for 2 years, and that might be really hard for you." He said, "Well, it already is, but that's what God wants, and that's the example I want for my daughter, and could we please not talk about this again?" And I said, "Absolutely." He knew that off top. Like, he knew when I shared that with him, and he told me, he said, "I am 100% myself with you, except I can be a big flirt, but I don't flirt as much with you." And I was like, "No, be yourself." But I understood why he did that. He was like, "No, no, no, I wanna be mindful of you. You are precious, and I don't wanna bring that energy to the place." And we hung out for about a year, maybe a year, and that was just fine. So, ladies, I'm just giving you these stories. There are men who are just fine with not having sex and not doing a lot or anything physically. Will all men be okay with that? No, and that's okay too. But ladies, there is a friend of mine who 2 years ago, she started dating a guy, and she called me up and she said, "Oh, my friend introduced me to someone. We're going on a date." And she said, "Oh, he's great. We've gone out a couple times." She said, "I've been listening to you and I want to not have sex with him. I want to take sex off the table." And I said, "Girl, I never told you to do that." She said, "No, I know you didn't, but I hear you. I've heard you talk about physicality off the table." And it side note, y'all, I forget that my friends listen to me as well. So she said, "This will be the first time I don't sleep with somebody I date." And I said, "Okay." She said, "But I'm nervous. What if he's not okay with it?" I said, "Then he's not the one for you. If he respects you the way that I believe he does, he'll be just fine." She told him he was just fine with it. They dated, and I think they held hands. They kissed a little bit here and there. After 9 months, he proposed, and they got married about 7 months later. Now, I am not saying taking sex off the table is gonna lead to blah, blah, blah. I'm not gonna say that at all, but there is clarity. There's a clarity when you remove all of that stuff. And I have plenty other stories from men who would be okay with that. I've talked to men, "Hey, would you be okay dating a woman and sex was off the table?" And men have said, some have said, "Well, it'd be hard." Yeah, absolutely. Or, "Yes." And I've said this to men, ladies. I've said, "Listen, I know y'all deal with kind of performance stuff and self-esteem around your body as well and performance, and that just allows you to breathe." And the men were like, "Yeah." So, ladies, I give you all this just as things that you can listen to, consider, whatever that means for you. But at the end of the day, see God in everything. Make sure that you have wise counsel around you. Be careful of the advice that you get. Be careful. Make sure you have wise counsel. And y'all trust God to do what it is you can't. I do not call single a season. I do not call single a waiting season. I do not call single in the meantime, because here's when you call season. When you call the single season, you unintentionally attach, because seasons end. And if your single season lasts longer than you wanted to, you're going to start being discouraged. You're going to start being upset. You're going to start being irritated. And if you have been there, that's okay too. One of the reasons I say just one part of who you are is single. Y'all, one part of who I am is single, but I'm going to be honest with you. Single doesn't even come up in my thinking on a weekly basis. It really doesn't. So we can say God, I'm single and you are blessing me with this gift, period. You're blessing me with this gift. And I have a desire to meet a man. God, remind me what I deserve. God, show me what I deserve. God, help me to be open. Help me to be healed enough. Help me to live my life. Help me to serve well. Help me to love others well. Help me to be an intentional friend with the friends I have now. And to end it on this about intentional friendships with our girlfriends, I want to tell you some things that some girlfriends of mine have done that were everything. I hosted an event in South Florida a couple years ago, and a friend of mine was coming anyway. She was going to volunteer. She was coming anyway. And she said, "Hey, I was going to arrive a day early so I could help you run errands and just do things for you." I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm actually going to be out of town. If I leave the keys to the condo, can you come and run these errands and do this and do this?" She was like, "Absolutely." Y'all, that was everything. Another friend planned the most intentional birthday trip I have ever experienced in my life. Ever experienced in my life. Starting with, she upgraded the room to a balcony because she knows I love balconies. She selected a hotel with a rooftop because she knows I like rooftops. She brought healthy snacks because she knows I only eat healthy snacks. Then we go do a photo shoot because she knows I do a good photo shoot. Hello. Then she calls my mom to find out my shoe size so she can buy dancing shoes for me because I like to salsa dance. And she booked a professional salsa one-on-one lesson for me. Then we go to a spa and she covers everything. And y'all, it's not the stuff that she did. It is the intention behind it. It was the thoughtfulness that she knows me, learned about me enough to do that. I told her, "Girl, bump dating somebody, okay?" And y'all, I'm just sharing this because that is an intentional friendship. Intention is not just from a man, and I so appreciate that. And I've done things. I've been so intentional with gifts and things I've sent to people in my life. One of my friends, he got this big, and this is a friend from high school. We met, no, eighth grade. And he got this Teacher of the Year recognition and kind of alluded to that nobody really celebrated him outside of the school. He's known my mom, he's known my family for years. And I said, "Hey, y'all, he's coming over. Let's celebrate." So, y'all, he is a retired person in the military. So we bought some Army stuff. I got my nephews to do something. We bought him a gift. We played music when he walked in. And he walked in and he was like, oh my gosh, he was overwhelmed. So, y'all, when I give you these examples, intentional is not just with one person, it's all around. Y'all, be intentional on your journey. Be intentional with releasing things that don't serve you anymore, that are not who you are anymore. Be kind to you. Okay, ladies, you are enough. You are light. Live well. Thank you so much for listening to the Dr. G Speaks podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and family. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Deuces.